All right, so let's dive right into this whole TikTok ban thing in the U.S.
Yeah, it's
Remember all those, dance crazes and viral recipes? It seemed like everyone was on there,
oh yeah,
from grandmas to like dentists even,
absolutely.
sharing their hot takes and all that.
It was everywhere.
Well, it's all gone dark now, at least in the U.S. And
At least for now.
the internet's kind of freaking out a little.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how fast everything happened.
Yeah.
And just how complex this whole thing is.
Right.
It's not just about data security or anything like that. This is about politics and economics and maybe even a little bit of, cyber warfare.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And you found some really fascinating sources for us to unpack here.
Yeah, some Reddit threads I think will be really insightful.
Yeah.
We've got some from Rappel and our Black People Twitter.
Okay.
And even Cyberpunk game.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a range of perspectives.
Yeah.
Right?
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I think the Cyberpunk game thread especially highlights kind of this anxiety people have about corporations,
Okay.
especially when they're so intertwined with government power, which is like a major theme in that game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so mission objective for this deep dive.
All right.
Let's try to cut through all the noise and figure out what the real impact of this ban is.
Okay.
And see what it tells us about the future of, well, everything online.
The future of the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, first things first, how did we even get here? This ban, came out of nowhere, right?
Well, not totally out of nowhere. I mean,
Right.
there was this law that Congress passed, and the Supreme Court upheld it.
Uh-huh.
And it basically bans apps that are controlled by what they call foreign adversaries.
Okay.
Data security and national security risks were the main concerns they cited.
Right.
But enforcement was delayed until the current president took office. So now we've got this situation where the outgoing president, who was the one who initially wanted the ban, could actually be the one who brings TikTok back.
That is,
It's wild.
that's a serious plot twist.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got that legal background. Now let's check the emotional temperature out there.
Yeah.
These Reddit threads are,
Oh, they're a roller coaster.
they're a wild ride.
Yeah, you've got confusion, anger, sadness, and even a little bit of that I told you so energy going around.
Oh, for sure.
But one thing that really struck me was that a lot of people are worried about the long-term consequences of this ban.
Okay.
Not just, losing the app right now.
Right.
It's bigger than that.
So, the worry that this is just the start of more censorship
Exactly.
and the government controlling what we can see online.
Yeah, a lot of users are comparing this to what's happening in places like China and Russia,
Uh-huh.
where social media is heavily restricted. It's like,
Yeah.
welcome to the club, but not in a good way.
Not the club you want to be in.
No, not at all.
Right. And this ban really makes us think about what's next for the internet.
Yeah,
Is it going to stay this place where we can pretty much say what we want?
right?
Or are we heading towards this world where everything is controlled and kind of broken up?
Yeah, I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
In some countries, certain topics are just completely off limits online.
Wow.
Is that where we're headed?
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the freedom angle. But what about the money?
Oh, yeah.
This isn't just about memes and funny videos.
No.
People have built careers and businesses on TikTok.
Absolutely. And not just small businesses either.
Right.
There was this study, and I know it was commissioned by TikTok, so take it with a grain of salt. Sure. But they claimed that TikTok contributed $24.2 billion to the U.S. GDP just last year.
Wow.
So even if that number is a little inflated, the impact is huge.
Yeah, that's a huge chunk of the economy that could be disrupted.
Yeah.
And even if people move to other platforms, are they going to find the same level of success?
Right, because TikTok had its own unique thing going on.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like any other platform.
Yeah.
So this raises the question, are we just shifting power from one tech giant to another?
Right, just replacing one problem with another,
Yeah.
potentially. And this leads us to the Cyberpunk game thread,
Oh, yeah.
where things get a little dystopian.
Yeah, that one gets pretty dark. The folks over at Cyberpunk Game, they see this as like a real-life megacorp versus the people situation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some of them are actually celebrating it,
Yeah.
We took down this giant foreign tech company.
Okay.
But others are saying, hey, we just made American tech giants even more powerful.
Right.
It's like we traded one overlord for another one.
Yeah, out of the frying pan into the fire.
That's kind of the vibe, yeah.
It's kind of bleak.
It is.
And it really makes you wonder, who's really in control here?
Right.
Is this about national security, like they say? Or is it about helping certain companies?
Yeah, it's hard to tell what's really going on.
Yeah, it's all very murky.
Yeah, and on top of that, this whole ban is a political football.
Mm-hmm.
The incoming president could completely overturn it,
Wow.
which just adds another layer of intrigue to the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Some users are even suggesting that this was all orchestrated, for political gain.
Like some master plan to get young voters on their side by saving TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds cynical, but
It does.
I don't know. Could it be true?
I mean, it's definitely cynical, but it's not impossible.
Right.
I think it's important to remember that this isn't just about an app.
Right.
This is about power.
Okay.
The power to control information, to influence people, even to sway elections.
Wow. So the stakes are pretty high then.
Yeah, they are.
And we can't forget about the international side of things.
Right.
This ban could have a huge impact on relations between the U.S. and China,
Oh, absolutely.
especially with all the talk about future conflicts and stuff.
Yeah, one user even mentioned this idea of gray zone warfare.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, basically it's actions that disrupt or weaken an opponent without actually going to war.
Oh, so like cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns?
Exactly, things like that.
Okay.
So the concern is that TikTok was being used for this kind of gray zone activity.
So they're saying that TikTok was collecting user data and maybe using it for propaganda or even espionage.
That's the fear. Yeah.
That's a scary thought.
It is.
I mean, how much of that is real and how much is just hype?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that what happens online can have very real consequences in the real world.
Absolutely. The lines are getting blurrier and blurrier.
They are.
It's hard to know what to believe or who to trust anymore.
It really is.
And speaking of trust, a lot of these Reddit users are really skeptical about the government's motives here.
Oh, yeah.
They're pointing out that other big tech companies collect tons of data too,
Right.
but they're not being targeted.
Exactly. It feels like maybe this ban isn't really about security concerns.
Right, like it's more about politics than anything else.
That's what a lot of people are thinking.
And to make things even more suspicious, some users noticed that the TikTok app itself had a message thanking the incoming president for being willing to work with him,
Oh, wow.
even though he had nothing to do with the ban.
It's like they're trying to make him look like the good guy.
Yeah, it's almost like they're playing us.
Yeah, using this whole thing as a pawn in their political games.
And we're stuck in the middle.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, okay, beyond the politics, what does this tell us about the future of the internet?
Right. Is this a sign of things to come?
Exactly.
It's hard to say for sure, but it's not a good sign.
Right.
If they can ban TikTok, what's to stop them from banning other platforms?
It sets a scary precedent.
Yeah, it could really stifle innovation and freedom of expression online.
So are we heading towards a future where the internet is basically broken up into different pieces?
Like different countries or regions having their own little walled-off online spaces?
Yeah.
It's definitely a possibility.
That raises a lot of questions. Like, how will we get information?
Right.
How will we connect with people in other countries?
Exactly.
How will businesses operate?
All those things are up in the air.
What if you have to jump through all these hoops just to visit a website or use a service?
Yeah, it could get really complicated.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It does.
And it could make existing inequalities even worse.
Oh, absolutely.
People who already have limited access to information and opportunities.
They'll be hit the hardest.
It's not just about technical access either.
No.
It's about the different perspectives and ideas that we're exposed to.
Right.
A fragmented internet could turn into a bunch of echo chambers.
Yeah, where people only see information that confounds what they already believe.
That's a dangerous path.
It is.
So what can we do about it?
That's the big question.
Do we just sit back and watch as the internet changes around us?
No, definitely not. The first step is awareness.
Okay.
We need to understand what's happening, what the consequences could be, and the different opinions people have on this whole situation.
Right? That's why these deep dives are so important.
Exactly. Knowledge is power.
But it's not enough to just know about it. Right?
No, we have to be engaged.
Okay, so what does that look like?
It means talking to our friends and families about these issues,
Okay.
contacting our elected officials and making our voices heard,
Right.
and being critical of the information we see online.
Don't just believe everything you read.
Exactly. Question your sources, consider different perspectives, and be wary of misinformation and manipulation.
It's like we need to become digital detectives.
I like that. Yeah.
Always on the lookout.
Be skeptical, be curious.
And be mindful of our own behavior online, too,
Yes,
right?
sure.
Like, are we spreading misinformation? Are we
Yeah.
being respectful even when we disagree with people?
Exactly. The internet is a powerful tool, and it's our responsibility to use it wisely.
I think that's a great point to end on.
Yeah.
This deep dive has been a wild ride full of emotions and insights.
It has.
It's clear that this TikTok ban is about so much more than just an app. Yeah.
It really is.
It's a reflection of all these bigger forces that are shaping our world.
Absolutely.
From global tensions to the way technology is changing our lives.
It's all connected.
And even though we don't know what's going to happen with TikTok,
Right.
one thing's for sure, this whole thing has started a really important conversation.
Yeah, a conversation we need to keep having.
About the future of the internet.
Yeah.
The balance of power between governments and tech companies
Mm.
and our own roles as digital citizens.
Exactly. And that conversation needs to happen both online and offline.
For sure, because the decisions we make today are going to shape the digital world of tomorrow.
They will.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
All right.
we'll leave you with this thought.
Okay.
The internet is not a spectator sport.
I love that.
It's a space that we all create and influence with our actions, our choices, and our voices.
Well said.
So stay informed, stay engaged, and stay curious.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And remember, even though things might seem a little bleak right now, there's always hope.
There is.
Maybe, just maybe, this whole TikTok thing will be the wake-up call we needed
Yeah?
to build a better, more fair, and more resilient digital future.
I hope so.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. So how are people handling losing access to the app itself? I mean, what are they saying?
Oh, the Reddit threads are a mix of like mourning and dark humor. It's kind of fascinating.
Really?
Yeah, some people are comparing it to like losing a friend.
Wow.
And others are making memes about going through TikTok withdrawal.
It's crazy how attached people get to these platforms.
It is.
I mean, it makes sense though, right?
Yeah.
Especially for younger people.
Yeah.
These apps are more than just apps for them.
They're communities. Yeah.
They're creative outlets and even like income sources for some.
Exactly. It's like a disruption to their daily lives and their whole online identity.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. And there's this feeling of helplessness too.
Yeah.
Like, what can you actually do about it?
Right.
Some people are trying to find ways around it,
Oh, yeah.
like using VPNs to access TikTok from other countries. But
It's a temporary fix at best.
exactly, and it's not really a solution.
No.
It really shows you that tension, though,
Yeah.
between the people in charge setting the rules
The governments and corporations.
and the users who are pushing back and finding ways to get around those rules.
Right. It's like this constant back and forth.
Yeah, a digital tug of war.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And we don't know who's going to win in the end. But, okay, stepping back a bit, what does this whole thing tell us about the future of the internet? I mean, is this like a sign of things to come?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely a little worrying.
Right.
I mean, if they can ban TikTok, an app that was so popular,
Yeah, huge.
what's stopping them from targeting other platforms later on?
Right, like what's next?
It sets a precedent that could really limit innovation and freedom of expression online.
So we might be looking at a future where the internet is more fragmented,
Yeah, potentially.
like with different countries or regions having their own separate online spaces.
It's a possibility, and that raises a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Like, how will we access information? How will we connect with people across borders? Even how will businesses operate in that kind of world?
It sounds like a logistical nightmare,
It could be.
and it could make existing inequalities even worse.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. People who already have limited access to information and opportunities would be the most affected.
It's not just about being able to get online either.
Right.
It's about the different perspectives and ideas that we're exposed to.
Exactly. A fragmented internet could lead to these echo chambers
Yeah.
where people are only surrounded by information that reinforces their existing beliefs.
And that's not good for anyone.
No, not at all.
So what can we do as users? I mean, do we just sit back and watch all this happen?
Definitely not. The first step is being aware of this situation,
Okay.
understanding the issues, the potential consequences, and the different perspectives people have.
Right. Knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why conversations like this are so important. But it's not enough to just be informed. We have to be engaged.
So what does that look like?
Well, it means talking to the people around us about these issues.
Go.
Our friends, our families, our communities.
Mm-hmm.
It means contacting our elected officials and making our voices heard.
Right.
And it means being critical of the information we see online.
Yeah. Don't just blindly trust everything you read.
Exactly. Question your sources, consider different perspectives, and be wary of misinformation and manipulation.
It's like we need to become internet detectives.
Yeah. Always be on the lookout.
For sure. And we also have to be mindful of how we behave online.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, are we spreading false information?
Right. Are we being respectful even when we disagree with others?
Yeah, those are important things to think about.
They are. The internet is a powerful tool, and we need to use it responsibly.
I think that's a great point to wrap up on.
It is. It's been a really thought-provoking conversation.
It has, this whole TikTok ban has been a roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
So many emotions, so many different angles to consider.
Absolutely.
And it's clear that this is about so much more than just an app.
It really is.
It's a reflection of these huge global trends and the way technology is shaping our lives.
And it's a reminder that the decisions we make today will have a lasting impact on the digital world of tomorrow.
For sure. So even though things might seem a bit uncertain right now, I think this whole situation has been a wake-up call.
Yeah, maybe it's what we needed to start building a better internet.
A more equitable internet, a more resilient internet.
Yeah, I like that.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.